having a baby in Dubai versus having a baby in Puerto Rico were night and day experiences for us. First of all, having a baby in Puerto Rico, we decided to go with the home birth. So we had a midwife and a doula and a whole birth team, but we did not account for the fact that Puerto Rico's weather is something that is out of our control. So our daughter was born the first day of August in the middle of hurricane season. We had a pretty rough July when it came to hurricanes and storms. So we ended up not having power. We were running off of a generator and we had no running water. So our neighbors had to bring in water from their water hose to our house. We had to boil the water and we had to try to get this tub warm enough. That means we couldn't flush the toilet. There was just so many things that were going on during my birth that left me a little bit scarred. And thank the Lord, Laura got here. She was perfect. We had no complications, which was awesome. But if we did have anything go wrong, we would have been SOL. The hospitals just aren't in the best running condition. They don't have the staff that they need. They don't have the things. Like, it's just really not a great experience when you're in an island. And then Dubai is like totally different. It is nothing but luxury from stop to finish. They continuously care about you. I went to the emergency room during this time because I electrocuted myself on accident. They were WhatsApping me after I left. Like, what? They're like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Please let me know if you want to come back. Like, I'm like, the fact that they continue care and they're texting you out of concern. In the US, they would have been like, okay, girl, bye. So it's just like, and obviously, babe, you tell your side of the story, but we didn't have health insurance. We paid for everything out of pocket. We chose swag got my doctor. Like, there were so many things in Dubai that just makes it so convenient, where in Puerto Rico, we wouldn't have even had the option to do these things.
Yeah, not at all. And it's not even just Puerto Rico. Like, Puerto Rico is one part, but like even the United States, like we didn't give birth in the US, obviously. But like, I want everybody to do this right now, like Google the top best places to give birth, top countries and the worst countries. The United States is the last or second to last on each one of those links. Mm-hmm. And because we made a conscious decision to come to Dubai instead of going to the US for, baby swag. And then when we came to Dubai, like you said, it's a clear-cut difference on what they actually do and what they actually provide, right? Like, Alora got sick one time. We took her to the emergency room. She was in and out in 30 minutes, and it cost 150 dirhams, which is like, what, $40, something like that? Like,
something crazy.
It didn't even cost much at all. So when we look online on how much it costs to give birth in the United States, it was like, what, 50,000 and up, 100,000, 75, depending on how crazy it is. Home birth is a home birth, obviously, but it was very traumatizing last time. But in Dubai, it was like, a birth at the hospital in 2 days in X, Y, and Z. Oh, probably something around, 21,000 dirhams, 22,000 dirhams. Is that okay?
And honestly, they looked at us crazy every time. We're like, we're going to pay out of pocket. They're like, what?
Are you sure? Are you serious? And mind you, like I said, 21,000, 22,000 dirhams is like $5,000, if that, you know what I mean? So for me, it's a joke, like paying somebody $5,000 for a birth and care and 2 days recovery. Like, that's a joke, right?
Yeah. And that's like food, the stay in the hospital, everything. Like the epidural, like everything was included in that 5K.
And not one time did I feel scared for like you during this process in Dubai. I did that in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, that's the main reason why he was like, we're not having birth in Puerto Rico again. I don't want you to have a home birth. I really would like a little bit more security around your birthing process.
Yeah, because that, being in labor for 17 hours straight and it's just nonstop like moaning. And at a certain point in time during those 17 hours, I felt like the moanings got lower to the point it felt like you were like dizzy and fainting. Yeah. It felt really, really scary. Yeah, it was so real. In Dubai, I never felt that. I not one time. Like, you were like,
well, I didn't really moan.
No, when in Dubai?
Yeah.
I'm saying you had your phone up, you was making TikToks, you was laughing, you was doing your makeup. It was like, okay, this is a completely different experience than doing it in the United States.
Yeah.
And everybody was just so calm and peaceful about the whole thing. So
yeah, it was insane. Okay, so let's talk the doctors. So let's do a little serpent about our doctor.
What about her?
Swag found my doctor here a few months before we came. He searched the whole of Dubai for the best like OBGYNs, and he ended up stumbling across my doctor, who happened to be a Black woman from the UK. Mm-hmm. She was so thorough, but she did things non-traditionally. Like in the US, they plug you up for a sonogram every single visit. She just would touch my stomach, feel what's happening, measure, and be like, oh, you're good to go. And I'm like, oh, you don't need to plug me up? She's like, no, girl, this is what your body does. This is natural. And she was so holistic, you know? That's one thing I really do like about Dubai healthcare. Not everything is pharmaceutical prescription. Sometimes they give you ointments and it's literally like a holistic, you know, thing. They're like, oh, this has spices and herbs in it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that doctors could do that. So they mix their medicine and they genuinely do what's best for their patient. So I felt like my doctor had my best interest. She told me, she's like, if you want to give birth in a pool, we got the pool there for you. But if in the middle of the childbirth you decide you want to switch to an epidural, you are free to do just
Absolutely.
that. And I did that, and I didn't feel like he was mad at me or angry. And I feel like sometimes when you're doing midwifery care, people project your feelings, or people like, oh, you're not going to do a natural birth. Oh, you're not, you know, and it's like, I'm going to do whatever my body feels like. And I genuinely wanted to feel the difference between a natural childbirth and an epidural. So I felt like between natural childbirth is a beautiful experience. If you're a mom that has that pain tolerance and you can push through it, amazing. I felt it. I thought it was empowering and awesome, but I never wanted to do that again. So the minute I was like, hey, I think an epidural might be an option, I was so happy that I had access to it, and feeling the difference between natural childbirth and epidural. To me, I was like, either way I got to push, either way my baby got here safely. I felt like my body did its job either way, and I don't understand the shame that they put on women to make them feel like, oh, you're not as powerful as a woman because you didn't do it naturally. Nope. If you got your baby into this world healthily, then you are just as much of a mom as anybody else, and that's just my opinion.
That's a fact. I mean, I don't subscribe to any of that. I don't care if it's you, me personally, you do it yourself or it's a surrogate, right? Like you're a mother, no matter what. Your mother,
Yep.
being a mother, in my opinion, is not caring. There's a lot of surrogates who carry and not a mother, right?
Yep.
Like it's based on how well you take care of the child once they're here on this earth. And same with fathers, right? Like a lot of people who had sex and give their sperm are not necessarily like fathers, right? Fathers is like, as the baby's born, are you there? Are you active? Are you active in the child's life? So I don't think there should be any shame whatsoever, because, like I said, after seeing the actual epidural and how it had an effect on you, we were literally chilling in the hospital, right? Like I mean, maybe some people have different experiences, but like from what I saw, like it was a clear cut difference on how easy your childbirth was this time than the first time.
For sure. Definitely. And everybody should do their own research. Everybody has their own opinions. There's side effects and there's certain things. Some people are better with anesthesia, anesthesiologist than other. Like, you just need to make sure that your care is what you want. That's why a birthing plan is there. But also be flexible, because at the end of the day, your baby has their own plan, and you know they also play a part in their own birth. Okay, so let's talk really quickly about U.S. citizenship, how we get our baby back, you know, that kind of stuff. One thing I will say that I was surprised about being here in Dubai, but also not surprised about, was when you have a baby, they ask for your marriage certificate. So that's a lot of things. Like, a lot of people online are like, oh, like, should I go to Dubai to have a baby? And I'm like, well, do your research first, because you should be married here. The culture is very different. A lot of people have been asking me too, of like, how are the men treating you in Dubai? Do you feel, you know, unsafe, or do you feel, you know, threatened? And my answer is no. I feel like the culture is pretty self-explanatory once you get here. And as long as you have respect for the culture, then you don't have an issue. Now, I will say I've had to like make sure I'm not yelling at anybody, because I kind of have a fiery temper. So I try not to do that. But I actually have caught myself slipping. I've had a few like fighting altercations with men, and I am not in jail, so that's good. So it's just like that kind of stuff. And then getting our baby back to the U.S. Our baby's a U.S. citizen, naturally, because here, if you're not Emirati born, then you don't get citizenship. We have residency, but they go off of the citizenship of the dad. Talk a little bit about our journey over here, packing up, me flying so late into my pregnancy, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we knew we wanted to give birth in Dubai probably late September. Yeah, maybe late September during this whole process. So me and my videographer flew out here in October, and we, like I said, went through a bunch of hospitals and ended up finding, you know, our nurse and. Right, it's called a nurse, right? Right, yeah. So we did all that process and came back, and then literally I was back in Puerto Rico for 3 days. Got Bailey, got our nanny, and got my daughter, and flew right back to Dubai. The process wasn't wasn't as hard as people think. You just pack as if you're going on a regular trip, but you just pack for 3 months. That's literally it. So we packed 9 suitcases and then brought it to Dubai and got our place, and that was it. Moved in. It was nothing special or fancy about it.
You pack 9. We're probably leaving with a lot more. And then I flew. A lot of people ask this question: can you fly on an airplane that late in pregnancy? Absolutely yes. You are not supposed to fly your last month of pregnancy. So you can be 35, 36 weeks on a plane and it's completely fine. Full-term babies are normally not happening until 37 weeks. There has been instances where people have babies on a plane. That is something that just goes with the risk. But luckily, I did not have a baby on a plane and I was fine. So once I got here, I was kind of stuck here because you're not allowed to travel after 36 weeks. Most airlines will turn you away. The good thing about me is that I carry kind of small, so they wouldn't really know how far in pregnancy I was anyway, but you do have a paper that you can give to them if they do ask.
Yeah.
So once I was here, I was kind of set, like, okay, I'm here for the next, at least 3 months until I give birth to my baby, and then he's big enough to travel again. And during that time, it'll give us enough time to get his paperwork settled. So we have the baby, we go to the U.S. Embassy, we get, paperwork and identification for him, and then that way we can travel back to the U.S. No problem.